Unfortunately, there's still some that are left out there. But I think that was one question that I feel I'm much closer to answering than I was before that game.
Brian Thomas is a really good one because he won at the line of scrimmage a lot in that game. And coming into the season, I think if we were kind of ranking things on defense, I think the defense as a whole was one that I think people needed to see something from just because of what all you replaced. One of those players you replaced, Kyle Kennard, won at the line of scrimmage a lot, right? Teams had to account for him and not just send all their attention to Dylan Stewart. Even with Kyle Kennard being that good, some teams, Alabama, still loaded up the line of scrimmage on the side that Dylan Stewart was on and took their chances one-on-one with Kyle Kennard. They learned they can't do that, and the Carolina pass rush was incredible all season long. Brian Thomas Jr. looks like he's taking over that mantle really well.
He looks like
awesome.
Looks like he's going to be the next person in that step, and obviously Dylan loves that. That's going to provide him some respite or relief from the double teams and the chips and all the other things that those offenses do. So that was a question that I feel like I had answered. Unfortunately, there were some other questions that were not answered for me. And when I went back and watched the game over again for the second time, which, by the way, not a great game to go back and watch, just from a vibes perspective. And I don't know, I don't know whether it was because whatever it was. If you just watch the game without knowing any of the circumstances, it was a pretty pedestrian game. Just not a lot happening.
It wasn't aesthetically pleasing, especially in that first half, with it being such a slow start. I think that was it was a pedestrian watch, right? Like that's not one that you're going to in a couple of years put back on tape just to watch if you're really bored, right? I love to rewatch like old games if I get really bored. I don't think that's one of them, and I don't think we're gonna put it in that category. Before we get into some of that, because I have a few things I think that kind of held up really well too. Damon Clowney put together a nice night's work. That's one thing I wrote down was that there's a lot more from Clowney than what I remembered. He was in on a lot of plays, and if you're going to be without Jatius Gear, you're going to need somebody who can provide a little bit of depth and give your edge rushers a little bit of a reprieve throughout the course of a four-quarter game. I think Damon Clowney proved that he can be that guy.
If Brian Thomas Jr. was my 1A, that was my sub 1B right underneath that. I was like, oh, okay. I see some things. I see some plays that are being made. I see some hustle. I see some effort. I see some aggressiveness that he's playing with. Not that he wasn't, but again, we haven't seen these players. At least I haven't.
Yeah,
right?
I haven't seen Clowney play.
So this is some of our first times seeing how they play on the field, how they react to certain situations. And I did put like a little asterisk by him, and I said, okay, he's showing up a little bit more. Not more than I expected. He's just showing up on film frequently.
He popped off the metaphorical page here, right? Like, you saw a lot of him on the football field. One thing that I noticed too, in terms of maybe some of the good, right? Like, Rasul Faison only ran the ball 5 times, but he is really shifty in the backfield. And I did write down he ran the ball better than I remembered.
I believe it's second carry makes someone miss with a nifty spin move in the backfield. You know which one I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Right? He makes somebody miss early in the play, which, again, we're going to put our Garner goggles on next segment. If we put our Garner goggles on, we love people being able to make somebody miss.
Oh, I love that in a running back.
Once we take our goggles off, we don't like the fact that you have to make somebody miss behind the line of scrimmage.
No.
So when you put the goggles on, oh, man, that's an awesome play to make somebody miss. You take them off, oh, man, why is he having to make somebody miss?
When it comes to a running game being married by running back and offensive lineman, those Garnet goggles can sometimes make it feel more like a kaleidoscope in terms of the difference between what you have with them on and what you have with them off, right? Like, it could be a pretty stark contrast. But that at least tells me, too, I think you're going to see more than 5 carries and 7 carries in a game from Faison once we get into a little more of the season.
I think that has to happen.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think your running game results might end up looking a little different just because I think we're just going to see more of him. I don't see why you don't. If you are going to stick to running the ball and trying to find some semblance of a running game throughout the course of the year, maybe giving Rasul Faison the ball more is going to help because he is a really good playmaker. Now we get to the things that held up, right? And a lot of this is going to be on the offense. But I will say one thing in terms of maybe attributing the offense's issues to the offensive line. Yes, that was not a banner day for the Big Nasties. I think what killed the drives in the first half more, because you started the game with 3 3-and-outs. I think false starts were one of the biggest was arguably the biggest drive killer, because you created negative plays without having to do it. There was no need to have any negative plays going on in a game like that, where you should be able to control everything up front. When you false start, you automatically put yourself behind the 8 ball. And I think the false starts in the first half, he had 4 all game and 1 illegal procedure. Those 5 penalties, I think, were the biggest black mark on the offense in that game.
Well, you compound that idea with one, that's something that's procedural, that should not happen. When we talk about the concept of playing smart football, that falls in that category. Jumping off sides, not smart football, because guess what, offense, you know the count.
Right. If anything, you have the answers to the test.
That frustrates me to no end as a defensive guy who has to sit over there and guess and watch and hope and look for clues. Offense, you know the count. They tell you. They tell you whether it's snaps or whether they're clapping or whether it's a color or what. You know it. So when you're jumping off sides, that's a lack of something. Lack of discipline, lack of focus. That's not good. But the second part about that is, it's not as if you were playing in a hostile environment.
You're at home.
You were at home, and it wasn't even the loudest that it can get in that place.
Yes.
I expect it to be way more rocking this weekend. So you can imagine if it's a third down, the crowd is rocking, and you have to hang in there for a snap on 2. That's a very different scenario. No disrespect, but playing that game on Saturday was akin to playing in scrimmages or playing with a the crowd was there, yes, but it was not raucous. There should not have been a way for them to be interrupting with you jumping off sides. So that, to me, is a red flag as far as the offensive line is concerned.
And for the offense in general, when you went back and just watched those first 3 drives,
maybe a reason for you to get on the line later. We'll see.
Ah, yes, it's a really good reason to get on the line. When you go back and watch those first 3 drives, because you ended up with 4 3-and-outs in the game as your starting offensive unit. Obviously, the false starts, the penalties are killer. That just naturally, by the nature of football, makes you have to travel a little bit farther to get a first down. What was it that you might have seen differently upon a rewatch than you did in real time as to why the offense just struggled so mightily to get a first down against South Carolina State in the first quarter?
We don't know all the assignments. We don't know all the ins and outs of what's supposed to be happening on each play. But when it looked as if it was mano-a-mano, hat on hat, we didn't win as many of those battles as I think we should have. And to me, that's discouraging, because you're supposed to be the bigger, faster, stronger team. Didn't feel like you were the more aggressive team. And sometimes it felt like the Bulldogs had a little bit more dog in them up front than South Carolina did on a consistent play-by-play basis. And I think the PFF grades really reflect that.
That you just might not have been game enough compared to how South Carolina State was game.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to fall on trite things like, oh my God, look at that outfit that Kyler Murray has on.
It makes him look smaller.
That's to the side, yeah. Kyler Murray, you're short already. Shorts below the knee don't work for you.
Very baggy. Very early 2000s, right? You're making yourself look smaller.
I'm sorry. My point was, before I got distracted, my point was this. You hate to fall on ideas like, oh, they were just more aggressive, because you feel like you're the person that stands like, block somebody. You don't want to just be that person.
Somebody do something.
But I kind of felt like that sometimes during the rewatch, like, come on, do something. And that's not a great spot to be. So, I mean, that's not very coachable or correctable, but that dog in them didn't seem like it was there early, for sure.
I think upon rewatch, too, because I did really like the first drive of the second half, the last drive that you had in the first half. And, of course, the last drive in the first half compared to maybe the first drive of the second half, first drive of the game, and then that last drive of the first quarter, like the difference between like those three really bad ones and then the good one might seem a little more stark in contrast because you also just had to wait a while. When you return 2 straight punts for a touchdown, your offense is on the sideline for a little bit. So you have that sour taste in your mouth with how bad the offense started. But the first scoring drive was really good. I sat there thinking you're moving the ball really well. The timing stuff is working. You ran the ball a little bit. And then you had that touchdown drive in the second half. Then you had the touchdown pass to Vandrevius Jacobs. If we almost swap those, I know you can't. It's not how time works, right? But if you started the game off doing that and then had a few 3-and-outs and it's already, let's just say it's already 21-3 by that point, I don't think we're having the same discussion. But because you did start off so slowly on offense, that may be one of the biggest reasons why there is such animosity on how the offense played.
Yeah, I think that all goes into it. The slow starts, the early punts, after the delay. It's kind of like, all right, are we going to ever get this going? We should be up on them. They scored first.
Right.
Like at one point you were losing, and it's like, I don't.
That's not going to sit right with anybody, especially at the end of a quarter. You went into a commercial break at the end of a quarter of the game down in that game.
Big point, yes, big point. We were up, going to commercial break. You see Chennis over there with his fist in there. It's like, I don't like this.
Right, yeah.
This doesn't feel good.
That's not going to sit well with you. That's only going to amplify the feelings that you had watching that game early. So if there's any, and we'll get into more of this in the next segment, but if there's anything to feel better about the game is when you saw the scoring drives, they finally looked like what it is supposed to. And getting it together is a little encouraging. And I think maybe if we just swap when it happened, maybe we feel differently. I don't know. It's something to think about, at least for myself. Coming up next, though, it's time to get really optimistic. We're going to put on the Garnet glasses. Depending who you are, putting on your Garnet glasses can be the difference between looking through a kaleidoscope and looking through Super 8 film. Can be a little bit different for some. Garnet glasses coming up next here on the early game.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy, and just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. This week, I'm looking at Philadelphia versus Kansas City, and I'm taking Jalen Hurts to go lower than 202.5 passing yards. If you watch last week's game, you can see they can still win with that. Picking Jalen Hurts to go lower. Download the app today and sign up with promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play for your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAME. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Nice start to your Tuesday morning. Doesn't appear we have any accidents, and we're not looking for any. So let's be on our best behavior this morning and get to work and school safely. It's going to be breezy again today, 81 for the high, and then tomorrow warms up just a little bit, 84, 86 on Thursday, and going to kind of stay in that mid-80s really through the weekend. For game day, looks like it's going to be sunny and 84. Doesn't look like there's any rain in the forecast, so fingers crossed there. Right now, 62 on the early game.
Some people are glass half empty, but right now, it's time to be glass half full. Go ahead, dust them off, take them out of the glasses case, make sure there's no smudges on them, and now apply your Garnet glasses, because there are some good things that did come from Saturday night's game.
Can you see through the monsoon?
That's right. Can you see through it? How clear are your glasses?
You need those glasses that have the little windshield wipers on them. That would have been amazing. I think I still have a pair of those somewhere.
Yes, those would be great.
That wipe off themselves,
yes.
Right? Wipe off themselves because it was rainy, but they're
just a smidge.
Yeah, just a smidge, just a little bit, only enough for it to delay the game by 2 hours. Fun on its own. But Preston Thorne, you put on your Garnet glasses.
I got them on.
The first thing that you see when you look through these.
When I put my Garnet glasses on, I see a freshman starting on the offensive line.
Ooh.
And to me, that is reason for hope, because the offensive line has not been, they've been below average to average for the entirety of the time that we're here. And we were hearing that Shed Surratt was going to be a guy. And now all of a sudden we're seeing him step into the starting lineup. And I think that is reason for you to put your Garnet glasses on. That means you recruited well. That means he's come in and he's played as well as he's been recruited, and he's starting lineup. Now when my goggles fall off, we have a freshman playing on the offensive line.
Maybe not ideal. There will be some bumps and bruises as a part of being a freshman offensive lineman.
So when you're watching Shed Surratt play, put on your Garnet goggles and say he is a freshman. There's going to be growing pains. There's going to be things that he can't do, but obviously he's there for a reason. And the reason you hope he's there is because he's earned that spot to be there. Now, who he beat out, that could be another reason to take your goggles off, but we're not talking about that right now. Watch him through your Garnet glasses.
I put my Garnet glasses on right now, and you know what? All I see are the 2 punt returns from Vakari Swain for touchdowns, and it's making me think. This is not a thought I had with my normal glasses that I wear. But now that I've got these specific lenses on, I'm thinking, do you put them in some offensive packages? Now, you don't want to wear them out, especially considering your secondary is pretty thin right now because of injuries, but Gerald Kilgore did play really well. He does seem to be a player. I know Gerald plays more safety. However, if there's a way maybe to put Vakari in on offense a couple times. I mean, look, the 2 punt returns, he makes guys miss in both of them. Mm-hmm. And that second one where he fields it in a crowded area, he still has to spin out of it. He still has to break out of it. I don't see why he couldn't operate in a little more of a phone booth known as the offensive line.
Now, here's what I didn't know. I didn't realize that he was a two-way dude in high school, and that there was sort of a conversation between where was he actually going to play once he got here. And I guess Torian Gray won out that. I guess
he won that battle out.
Yeah, I guess he won that battle. I don't know if he put some extra donuts on Shane's desk or whatever the case, but somehow or another he won that battle, and he's been on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's a very interesting point, because I don't have my Garnet goggles on yet, so I can say this. We haven't seen the explosiveness that we thought we we were going to get out of the wide receiver room yet.
Yes.
And we've seen one dude who can actually go out there and make plays. So I wonder if that's going to be a conversation that is had. Putting my garnet glasses on, I'm looking, again, I'm still focused on the offensive line because you know what? When I look through my garnet glasses on the offensive line, I see Casey Henry playing arguably the best out of everybody on the offensive line. And that is reason for me with my garnet glasses to say, hey, there's improvement that is happening here. We were not having that conversation last year about Casey Henry. In fact, we were having the opposite conversation about who's the weak link. And he is not this year. He's graded out highest in 2 games consecutively, running backs. Now, when I say highest, take my goggles off, doesn't mean that it's high. I said highest.
Highest.
Not high, but he's graded out highest. And I do think that is a reason for optimism looking at the offensive line as a whole, that who was the weak link is not anymore.
Now, when we just look at the overall blocking, Casey Henry did grade out as an 84 in pass block, 66 in run block, which 66.7, just a little second on the team because Blake Franks in 12 run block snaps was 68.9. But if you want to look at starting offensive linemen, his was the highest by far in terms of run blocking. But this is the second straight game, I think his pass block grade's been over 80.
Yeah, and so, again, that's a cause for optimism because last year he was the consistent Madden highlight where it was like, hey, this guy is not holding up his part of the bargain. So credit to him for working, credit for him for taking the coaching or whatever he's done to this point that has led him to being the highest graded lineman at this point. So kudos to him. Garnet glasses. He's improving. Will everybody come along with it? That's still yet to be determined.
Now, in terms of pass blocking, all 5 of your starters were at least 66 in pass blocking. You would like for it to still be better against South Carolina State. However, Casey Henry, 84.3. Trovon Ball, 78.4. PFF, they're really tough graders. So you'll take that. And one thing I see when I put my garnet glasses on and look at the offensive line is that pass protection was better than I thought it was. It still has room to grow, but one of the sacks in the game, which I believe South Carolina only was sacked, twice? Yes. No, they were sacked 4 times, which I guess some of that kind of maybe came later. But a couple of them, I would say, were coverage sacks, which I take the garnet glasses off. We shouldn't have coverage sacks against South Carolina State, right?
Can we keep them off for a second?
Yeah.
Also, when they talk about sacks, sometimes it might be on the quarterback holding the ball too long.
Yep.
So it's a combination of quarterback holding the ball too long, wide receivers not getting open, two not good things. But goggles on, they did give him some time.
They gave him some time, yes. I think he had an adequate amount of time to have to make something happen. We'll really see the test against Vanderbilt because Clark Lee, really good defensive mind. Remember, the guy was the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame on a playoff team before coming to Vanderbilt. Really good defensive mind, is going to look at what they've put on tape and is going to scheme something up. I expect to see a ton of stunts and twists, maybe some stemming on the line of scrimmage too to try to throw off the assignments. Make Carolina have to communicate. So that's going to be a really big test, but I have some room for optimism for the pass protection at least.
And I think that's totally fair in the pass protection. But one of the aspects that they said was they have to run the ball.
Yeah, that's their emphasis.
That's the emphasis that they're working on. And right now the offensive line is leaving a lot to be desired in that aspect of the game.
Yes, especially when you look at some of the underlying numbers. And speaking of those underlying numbers, it's time for Preston to battle them because coming up next, it's Old Man versus Analytics based off of the numbers we saw from South Carolina versus South Carolina State. That's next here in the early game. If I'm ranking the worst things to step on in my home, number 1 would be a Lego without any socks on. Number 2 would be stepping on carpet that felt gummy and matted down. It's disgusting. And sometimes you don't know how it got that way. You think you've been maintaining your home, and the next thing you know, you step in something that's gummy and a little matted down on your carpet. It's gross, but there's a solution to that. And that's my friends over at Zerorez, because Zerorez, short for zero residue in a lasting clean. So that's why I call Zerorez. And this month, the more you clean, the more you can save. You can get 3 rooms for $119, 4 for $144, and 5 rooms for just $169. So save up to $30 and schedule with Zerorez today and have them use their patented cleaning process that uses no harsh chemicals, a clean that's safe for your family and your pets. Schedule online at Zerorez Columbia. Zerorez, spelled backwards or forwards, the right way to clean.
Looking good this morning for any commute. No accident at this time. And the forecast looking good as well. Just kind of breezy today. 81 for the high. Overnight low of 59 this morning or into this morning. And then overnight tomorrow night. Looking for an overnight low of 59. 84 for your high tomorrow. And looking for sunny skies really to be continuing through the weekend. We hit 86 on Thursday and stay in the mid 80s through Sunday, and actually by the beginning of the week we might get back closer to 90. But right now it is kind of breezy out there. 62 on 107.5 The Game.
Our final review of the South Carolina State game. That's what we're doing today here on the early game. But we're going to look at it through a different perspective right now. Because it's time for Old Man versus Analytics based off of some of the underlying numbers from Saturday's game. And we'll start off with LaNorris Sellers himself. Now, Preston, 52% of LaNorris's passes were 0 to 9 yards in the air. He was 8 for 10 on those for 54 yards, and had a pretty decent yards per attempt on those with 5.4. And that 5.4, way more than the 3.8 per attempt that they had on the ground. Should we see more of the quick action pass on early downs as opposed to running the ball and establishing a short game that way?
I concur. This does make a lot of sense. Even though I am definitely a first down, run the ball type of dude, that's my ethos. But if those numbers say 5 yards per attempt, he's your best player on the team. Give him more opportunities to make plays, whether that's with his legs or with his arm. And also the quick pass maybe takes care of some of the blocking issues because you're getting the ball out quick. You're not giving them a chance to do a lot of that fuddy-duddy stuff. You're getting the players to the ball. That seems like it could be a strategy. Somebody said that one of these days, like, we might have to be a team that passes in order to run. I don't love that, but if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do.
If it fits your personnel better, it just fits your personnel better.
Right.
And I am kind of the Mike Leach school of thought that sometimes your best running game is a short passing game. High percentage passes to where you can complete 80% of them, like LaNorris did on Saturday night. And if you're moving at 5 yards a clip, and that's per attempt. That's not per completion, it's per attempt. So your average play on those, or your average gain on those plays, is 5.4 yards. If you're picking up 5 yards on that, setting yourself up with a 2nd and 5 could allow you more power run opportunities to where if Oscar Attaway is having a game where he can power through for a couple yards like he did for that touchdown where he had to run through somebody's face, you can be able to have a higher success rate with your run game because you are in situations where it doesn't require you to go 7 yards, right? It's also less pressure on your running game. And we've seen what Rasul Faison can do in terms of making somebody miss. So if you can make somebody miss and turn a negative 2-yard play into a 3-yard play, well, that sets you up for a 3rd and short. Or if you work your way to a 3rd and short, a running back like that can maybe live through some less ideal blocking and get you the yard or two that you need just to move the chains and sustain some drives. I think the biggest issue I had with the offense was the 3 and outs. Punting is fine, but because it beats a turnover, solely because it beats a turnover. But if you are punting maybe closer to the 50 instead of what you were doing the other night and punting it deep in your own territory because you're going 3 and out and you're starting, your starting field positions around the 10 to 15-yard line of your own, you can solve some of your own offensive problems by how you manage downs. I think the short passing game might do that.
Besides a pick six, there's nothing more demoralizing to a defense than 3 and outs consecutively, right? You just
go right back out there.
You just get on the field, you get a sip of water, and defense or punt team or whatever they call it for you, and you're like, oh my God, again? You don't want to get into the whole, like, we're not pointing fingers and we're all on the same team, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, come on. What are we doing? So that's always tough because even if you get 1 first down, even the crowd relaxes a little bit, the field, everybody relaxes, but those 3 and outs are really difficult. So, yes, I do think passing the ball early may be an answer.
Now, we're about to confirm one of your priors. Brian Thomas Jr. had a pass rush win rate of 31%. For those not familiar with pass rush win rate, in college, anything above 15 is considered really good. Over 20 is considered great. So Brian Thomas Jr. adequately filling the shoes that Kyle Kennard left.
So the old man and the analytics agree. Because I didn't have those numbers in front of me, but it just felt like he was over everywhere.
31%.
Now, again, that could be a little bit based on competition. That could be anything. But what I saw was somebody with a want to, somebody with the will to get to the ball. Does that change against other levels of competition? Sure. Maybe that 31% goes down to 15%, but you're still above or still working average. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you got the dude on the other side of you. So I think what I saw that game was him providing that complementary piece that we've been looking for in the offseason.
Now, one of my favorite players on this team, mostly because we have a shared life experience of having to suffer through at least a year going to Tennessee Tech, Gerald Kilgore had the highest pass coverage grade with 79 on the team, and he had one, what I consider to be a great pass breakup. Like, he erased a completion on one of the plays in that game. He'll make Gamecock fans feel a little better about the possible absence of a large chunk of the secondary.
We've been talking about depth. This is something that you need more players, unfortunately, with injuries piling up and just general fatigue setting in. That'd be something worth keeping an eye on. That's not something that I specifically noticed in my rewatch, but if you're saying that he was somebody who graded out at that high level and also wasn't just out there, he was making plays, that is always going to be a thing that you're looking forward to.
Especially considering we are still, staring down the barrel of potentially not having Judge Collier. I still don't think we see Collier. If they were concerned about a long-term injury, I don't know if 1 week heals a sprained knee. We also potentially without Jalen Kilgore. I know it was a hamstring thing. He didn't play on Saturday night. Do you play him in an SEC game? Is it good enough to play through that? Hamstrings can be tricky. We'll see. And then, of course, Jaquel Hallman. His injury looked pretty rough. Anytime you have the shoulder leaning down and the trainer's holding it up, not a great sign. So, and then Brandon Cisse got hurt 6 snaps into the game. You might need Gerald Kilgore to play a lot of snaps. And I think if that's the case, if there's anybody that showed you something that's not a normal every down starter, Gerald Kilgore might have been the one that showed you the most in terms of non-every down starters on that defensive unit. We'll talk about the running game a lot. We've mentioned Oscar Attaway, Rasul Faison, but 25 of Jawan Howell's 30 yards came after contact. Led the team in yards after contact. Should he possibly be seeing more of the offense with his ability to make guys miss?
It's a tough question to answer. We heard a lot about him coming into the season. We knew about he's probably the one that has the biggest playability, the home run ability, it seems like. But he's been further down on the depth chart. There's only a finite number of carries, and when you're going 3 and out, not running a lot of offensive plays, that can affect whatever the rotations were going to be. I don't think they should just give him carries just to give him carries. If he's earned those carries, then they should give it to him. I'm not sure. I think Rasul, in my mind, just from what I've seen, has got himself to be RB1. Oscar's done a solid job. I don't think he's ever not going to do a solid job. I'm wondering if any of those other 2 guys can maybe step ahead of Oscar as far as being able to go out there and make something happen. We shall see about that.
I think the thing with Jawan Howell is we're operating in such a small sample size at the SEC level, but I did like what he even showed in the bowl game before the fumble. Right? I firmly believe that he did not see the field the rest of that game because of that fumble, but I think he showed you something in that game. I think, his ability to maybe make some guys miss and have some high-end speed makes me intrigued about the possibility of maybe seeing a little more of him once we get into actual SEC competition. We've already put on Garnet goggles or Garnet glasses. Well, now it's time for Coach P to take the Garnet hat off and put on a coaching hat, because we hear your complaints about the offensive line, your concerns. Coach P is going to cosplay as Lonnie Teasley and give some emphasis, coaching points, for what to do against Vanderbilt in what is a very big game, a game that, after what Vanderbilt did to Virginia Tech in the 4th quarter, feels a lot bigger than it did a week ago. We do that next here on the Early Game. One of the hardest things to do in life is recover from injury or surgery, right? Because it takes work. It takes work to be able to get back to what you used to be before whatever your injury was or whatever procedure it was that you have done. So why make it harder? Why add more obstacles by having to get yourself to a physical location for your physical therapy? And this is where Vertex PT Specialist comes into play, because they bring the skilled physical therapy and deliver it right to your door. That's right. Their outpatient home health team, which is already some of the best in the best in the big, or in the business, brings that one-on-one clinic-level care straight to your home, and they serve both Lexington and Richland counties, too. So if you're in Lexington County and you hear this right now, it's not just Richland County. They can serve you, too. So whether you're recovering from surgery, managing a chronic condition, or you just need the convenience of some home-based care, they got you covered. Call 803-973-0100 and let Vertex PT Specialists bring recovery to you. Preston Thorne is wearing a hat right now. Wears a lot of hats around here. Professor P. But now it's time for him to be Coach P. Put that coaching hat on. And we're going to give some pointers to the offensive line because, look, I think we've all agreed that your play up front didn't necessarily warrant the best grades against South Carolina State, but you can get away with it because you still won by 28. You can get away with it, and you did get away with it. I think we're all in agreement that you won't get away with it against SEC teams, and that even includes Vanderbilt, a school that I have said to be barely an SEC team for its entire existence. But it's 2025. Times have changed. Clark Lea's defense is pretty good because Virginia Tech, for most of the second half, was in the negative when it came to their second half total yardage number. That's pretty good. It looked a lot like what you did to Virginia Tech. So, to get them ready for this upcoming game, to make some improvements, you watch that team again upon rewatch. And Preston Thorne, the first place you would start if you were Lonnie Teasley is...
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football.
Wildcats.
Football.
Wildcats.
Football.
Wildcats.
Football.
All right, here we go. We're going to start with two very basic, fundamental things that I've noticed on film that they need to get corrected. The first thing, let's talk about getting not your boots on the ground, but your feet in the ground. Your feet have to go in the ground. The person who plays with his feet in the ground the most wins. And so what does good offensive line play sound like? Okay, you ready? Not what it looks like, but what it sounds like. Here's what bad offensive line play sounds like. That's bad offensive line play. Good offensive line play sounds like this. Short, choppy steps. Your feet are getting into the ground because obviously the ground is strong. And the more times you can put your feet into the ground, you have more of a chance to drive the other person. So let's do a little symphony here, right? So I'm going to do good offensive line play. You're going to do bad offensive line
Make
play.
it sound like an elephant in here.
All right? Go ahead. Now watch me. Those are more steps of me getting my feet in the ground. So while you're trying to get your feet taking big, huge steps, your feet are off the ground. You want to be with 2 feet on the ground as much as possible. When I watch this offensive lineman, I see them taking giant steps. Doesn't lead to you driving somebody off the ball. So good offensive line play sounds like this. Second part, pad level. You should not be able to see an offensive lineman's numbers. And what I mean by that is you see them standing straight up like this. They're doing a lot of this, catching. Some of my other coaches might have some less than FCC regulated ways to describe this. Let's just say chest bumping. Don't want to be chest bumping, okay? You want to be driving with a flat back through the thing. So if you put those feet together and you have a low flat back, that gives you the ability to drive somebody off the line of scrimmage. The last part, levels. As an offensive line, you line up on the same level. You would like for the play to continue with you all at the same level. What you don't want as an offensive line is for you to be at different levels. So if one person is on the line of scrimmage, but the other person is behind the line of scrimmage, now you've created gappage. You created a place for linemen, linebackers to get through and seep through the holes. And so when you see them getting beat on those stunts and twists, oftentimes it's because they're on different levels, and you see guys, they can't pass everybody off because you're on different levels.
Virginia Tech, I think, was that way too. There was that one sack in the second half where they ran that twist, and Ben Bell kind of beats Josiah Thompson on his right shoulder, and of course Josiah's on the left as a left tackle. And you see him have to turn around to stop, and the only way you're going to stop him or impede his progress is by holding him.
Exactly. And also on that part, as far as him turning around, you want to keep your shoulders square, because if we keep our shoulders square to the line, now we're creating a wall. But if I turn my shoulders, that's a gap.
You're a door that is opening.
You open a door. You do not want to open door. Close the door. Very, very simple. So, pad level, feet chopping, stay on the same level. We'll see.
That is what the offensive line needs to do. That is something to look for when we watch the offensive line play on Saturday against Vanderbilt in South Carolina's SEC opener. We'll continue our look on this game by asking the question, do the Gamecocks simply need to throw the ball more? We'll discuss when early game kicks off hour number 2.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, it's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Still looking good on your Tuesday morning. We don't really have any reports of any accidents right now. Welcoming that to be the case all morning. 81 and breezy today, 84 tomorrow, 86 Thursday and Friday. Looks like game day is going to be sunny and 84. So going to be certainly a nice day for some tailgating and a great day to get that win in against Vanderbilt. But right now, 62 on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we posed the question before the end of hour number 1, does the Gamecock offense simply need to pass the ball more? Because in game number 1 against Virginia Tech, Lenore Sellers threw the ball 19 times. In game number 2 against South Carolina State on Saturday, Lenore Sellers threw the ball 19 times. There is a heavy emphasis on the running game. It's something we've talked about a lot in the offseason because they put it up on the wall in the practice facility, along with a couple other mantras and ways that they judge themselves. But it is run the ball and stop the run. But Preston Thorne, it's made me wonder, and we used one of the numbers in Old Man versus Analytics about kind of the success rate they've had on the short passing game. Does the offense maybe need to look more towards the perimeter to find early down success?
So you brought up some numbers, and in case people weren't here, you were saying that essentially the yards per attempt on our passing plays is significantly higher, almost 1.5 yards higher.
Yep. So on passes from 0 to 9 yards, South Carolina is picking up 5.4 yards per attempt. In the run game, they're picking up 3.8 per attempt. That is sack adjusted.
Okay. So the first question is this: we're still learning about Mike Shula as an OC. As an OC now, we know what he was in the past. That was a long time ago. We're still learning about who he is now. Do you feel like that is within his DNA to do that, or does he feel like? Do you think he feels like that's surrendering? And I don't know the answer to this question.
That's something I might have to ask him on Thursday or on Wednesday because he does feel a little more old school in terms of his desire to run the football. But one trait that I really admire in coaches, it's not just offensive, defensive coordinators, head coaches, any coach in any sport in general, is one who is really good at tailoring whatever it is that they do schematically to what their personnel is. And right now, we're about to go into a really big game in the SEC opener. And I don't know if you feel great about establishing a run game in that, right? Football games are only 60 minutes of action long. It's not 70. It's not 80. It's not 90. This isn't the movie Lincoln. You don't have 3 hours of game action to be able to figure it out throughout the course, right? Sometimes if you play an offense like Vanderbilt, who maybe not the best in explosive plays, but they are really good at keeping your defense on the field for a while. This is a game where it's going to be pivotal that you don't go 3 and out. Really, every game is going to be pivotal that you don't have a lot of 3 and outs. And if you want to be more successful on early downs, then maybe spraying the ball out might benefit you. And if you know that, if you look at that South Carolina State game and you realize in that short passing game, again, in that game, you're picking up 5.4 yards per attempt. And that made up over half of your passing game was that 0 to 9 range in terms of air yards. Is that as effective as in terms of setting up deeper passes as it is a really good run game? I think it probably could. I think one of the reasons why Nick Harbor was so open in that Virginia Tech game and the safety felt the need to cheat down isn't just by playing the run too, but by playing Nick Harbor. Because what did they do in that first drive of the game? A lot of slant passes, a lot of short, quick hitting action, and you picked up a lot of yardage that way. First play of the season, a little tight end leak out to Mo Brown, picked up, 21 yards? I think we have proof of concept that the short passing game has been one of the best fuelers of your drives this season. And if I'm Mike Shula, I look at that and I'm just going to start applying that a little more because if you do that, maybe the boxes get a little lighter on first down. Then maybe you can set up your run game that way as the game progresses.
So as you were talking, I was thinking of a boxing analogy. Establishing the jab. You have to establish a jab in boxing, right? So the jab is the first punch. Maybe you throw it out there as a feeler. Maybe you throw it there a little bit of force. Maybe you have a really lethal jab. Maybe that's the one. What we have not established with this offense is what is our jab? What is the thing that we want to put in play that helps us set the tone for the rest of our offense? Your jab on offense could be inside zone. We're going to give you inside zone, and then whoop, here comes the read option off of that. Or it could be slant, whoop, slant and go. It could be anything, but what we haven't done is I don't think we've effectively established what the baseline level of our game plan is. So if it's passing the ball, throwing slants, throwing bubbles, slant bubble, however you want to work that, you mix some RPO in there, that's a possibility. That's a very strong possibility. I just think I haven't done that. So maybe that's for me some of the uneasiness going into this game because I'm still not quite sure what we are offensively.
Yeah, and figuring out what you do, because we still have a small sample size, relatively speaking, right? We have a 2-game sample size of what this offense looks like. And I think the common denominator is you haven't maybe run the ball the way you want to, right? I think you're at 3.2 yards per carry against Virginia Tech, sack adjusted or non-sack adjusted. That number's probably right around 3.5. And then you, against South Carolina State, adjusting for sack yardage, you were at 3.8 yards per carry. I think that's one of the reasons why someone like Mike Leach, an innovator of an air raid offense, we think of the air raid offense as throwing the ball downfield a lot. But that's not exactly the case. It's just an inverted philosophy of using the perimeter game to kind of be your run game at times. And then once you get in some short yard situations, if you have a lot of receivers out there, then maybe the box that you're facing is going to be less stacked. You'll win the numbers game at the line of scrimmage, and then you can run the ball a little easier. It's the same reason that if you watch Mississippi State, you watch Tennessee, teams that run kind of that inverted veer offense, they never face loaded boxes because they know they are cooked on the perimeter if you stack those, right? You will not succeed with an 8-man box against those teams because they will just beat you over the top relentlessly. And the one thing, as we see it in the NFL, defensive coordinators are scared of giving up the 50, 60-yard bomb. That's why almost every defense in the NFL right now is running a too-high shell because Patrick Mahomes has scared them dead in terms of getting beat that way. If you can maybe establish that threat, which I think with what Nick Harbor did against Virginia Tech can at least present the threat of that, and if you can pepper them on the outside and maybe force defenses to have to divert their attention to it, that A, helps out your offensive line. The blocking scheme is a lot different. And if you're a better pass blocking unit than a run blocking unit, then you're playing to your offensive line strengths as well. It's something that I've noticed after multiple rewatches of the first 2 games that I figured might be an elixir to this offense's issues.
It made me think about this as you were talking about how do you design a game plan for your team's strengths? Way back in the early 2000s, we played a team called the Georgia Bulldogs.
I've heard of them.
They had these 2 dudes playing defensive tackle named Richard Seymour and Marcus Stroud.
Richard Seymour. Yeah, sounds familiar.
Yeah, pretty good. HOF, put it by his name, right?
Columbia great.
And when they were creating the game plan to play against these 2, we knew that our offensive line were going to fight their tails off, but they were physically inferior to these 2 Hall of Famers, right?
Right, physically. Naturally.
But that doesn't mean we can't make a game plan. So what they did was we're going to make these 2 run sideline to sideline. We're going to get them tired. We're going to try and get them wagging their tongues a little bit. And then once they get tired, now our dudes who are conditioned, who are going to fight their behinds off to play, now they're going to start driving them off the ball. Now we can start running the ball. But we can't just start lining up against these and try and run the ball at them. That's machismo. You can beat your chest. Probably not the smartest thing to do. And so you'll see that type of idea. We did that with against Seymour and Stroud. People you might be familiar with, Big John Henderson, Albert Haynesworth.
Large man.
2 dudes.
Large men.
2 big dudes. Same kind of idea. Maybe we can't run right at them right now. Let's run them around a little bit, get them tired, and then we can get the run. I say all that to say establish what the game plan is going to be, and then you work your counter move off that. I said jab like boxing, or we can do baseball. Fastball, fastball, curve. Change up, fastball. Whatever it is, we just have to establish something. I haven't seen us establish that thing yet.
And that's a really good point, a really good way to look at this offense. 803-404-6100. We'll go to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where William is on the line. William, good morning. Thanks for hanging out with the early game.
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just taking my son to school this morning.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't understand sometimes the Mike Shula play calling stuff, man. I feel like as a Carolina fan, if we have an offensive line that can't give Lenore Sellers time in the pocket and actually build a pocket around him, then we need to run an offense where our offensive line doesn't have to block as long, and I feel like RPOs, more of a spread style offense because, I haven't heard Mazio Bennett's name hardly called at all. I mean, simplifying the offense, you know what I'm saying? Let Nick Harbor run deep every route, you know what I'm saying? Let Mazio Bennett run a slant every play, just something that we know they can do. And, I feel like, a lot of times, like, when we run the ball, why do we have Faison running a zone read right up the middle, and it looks like he's running into a brick wall, and I'm like, why would you run that? Like, what happened to the I formation run? I've seen teams where they bring in an offensive lineman as a fullback, you know what I'm saying, to help open up some holes and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't understand why if we don't have the offensive line to push these SEC teams around, then I feel like they definitely are going to have to get more creative in ways to establish the run.
Yeah. Yeah, appreciate your call, William. And that kind of does play into what we're trying to fix as our offensive diagnosis, right? I think we all agree that if you go 3 and out for your first 3 possessions against Vanderbilt, you're going to get your work cut out for you, especially if your defense is really banged up, which from the sound of it after the game on Saturday night is 100% the case. How can you make life easier for your defense? You don't have to score every possession. Just don't go 3 and out every possession. And that's a good way to wear down your defense is if you're constantly only on the field 3 plays at a time, which is why I think tailoring what you do offensively to what it is your offensive line might do best probably is your best option. Now, in terms of how much time Lenoris had to throw, PFF has it as 3.39 seconds per dropback, which is really good. The issue was 33% of the pressures turned to sacks. Sometimes that can be a quarterback thing. I think Lenoris would tell you he's got to get better at that, right? Even in the Virginia Tech game, I think when you are backed up in your own end zone, I think when the instruction is to get the ball out quick because you are in your own end zone, you'd like to have that back because you just got to get the ball out or bail out of the pocket. You tried to bail out of the pocket, ran into really where the pressure was coming from. Maybe it would behoove you to allow Lenoris a quick passing game where your options are in front of you, and then maybe instruction to bail after that if those options aren't open immediately, and having a quick passing game that kind of allows you to get into that motion, get to the perimeter quicker, where you have guys like Mazio Bennett, Jared Brown, and even Nick Harbor in a short passing game can be really good because you saw that in the Virginia Tech game, minus the drop, that first drive, that first slant that he hit, he took it and went a long way with it. And I think that could help you gain at least a little bit of offensive momentum and set up more of the explosive stuff later on in the game.
You said the word momentum, and you cannot get momentum when you're going 3 and out.
No.
So you have to be able to put plays together. You have to be able to convert. That goes back to success rate and all those types of things. Figuring out what they want to do and then being able to do that. Can they close the gap between what Mike Shula wants to do and what the offense can do? And that's the tension, I think, right now. And so if they figure that out, I think you'll see some good things, but they still have to do that.
Would you say that Patrick Mahomes is as good of a quarterback now as he was when he first got or first became a starter?
Yeah.
Not throwing the ball downfield as much.
Correct.
If you look, they showed a stat in the game the other night where Patrick Mahomes has like the lowest ADOT of any quarterback in the league in the last couple of years. The only one that he's beat out is Daniel Jones. But you'd say that offense is equally as successful at times because sometimes a 5-yard pass play is a win. A 6-yard pass play is a win. It can prolong drives. It can get you better on second and third down. It can set you up a little bit. If you're picking up 5 or 6 yards in the run game, you're doing that on first down every time. If you're doing that in the passing game, it is equally as successful. But I think we have preconceived notions in football that it might not be. We'll go take a quick break. When we come back, it's the morning meeting.
It's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. Talked about all the great things they did for us when we were trying to redo our kitchen after such a mess with a flood in there. And once we got all the cabinetry in, I'm telling you what, we were thrilled. But the process was so easy with them. Helped us figure out what we needed, helped calm me down a little bit. Then got the photorealistic rendering of our completed kitchen, and that gave us something to take around while we were trying to figure out all the other elements to finish out the kitchen. But like I said, it was such a good experience that when it came time to updating a couple bathrooms, we're like, yeah, well, where else would we go? So we ended up getting some cabinetry for a couple of bathrooms as well. And I'm telling you, if you need some assistance in maybe replacing some wire hanging racks in the closet, maybe like some cabinetry, some drawers, maybe some different cabinets in the kitchen, they can help you out with all of that. CHWCabinetry.com, 803-520-6837. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. A report of a disabled vehicle where the shoulder is blocked, I-26 eastbound at Sunset Boulevard. And that forecast, 81. That's going to be the high today. Pretty nice. A little bit breezy. 84 tomorrow, 86 for Thursday and Friday. Sunshine should abound, and we will enjoy that. 62 currently on 107.5 The Game.
It's time to get caught up. We're all reconvening. Let's give some announcements because right now it's the early game morning meeting.
Morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day. Let's go.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Yes, it will.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
So let's make it a great day. Let's go ahead and get you caught up from what happened last night. Unfortunately for Jen Jensen, she went to bed with the Chicago Bears winning a football game and then 21 fourth quarter points later for the Minnesota Vikings. They did not.
I'm very tired.
I think every Chicago Bears fan this morning, I'm very tired.
And you know what? It's not physical fatigue, it's emotional fatigue. We're putting it together. First quarter looked great. First half not bad. Then just kind of offensively couldn't start putting things together come third quarter, and then just the bottom fell out. I think they went home after that because the fourth quarter, where were they?
Yeah, I think the defense might have gotten a little tired too. Another reason why it's important not to go 3 and out. Because you can't wear your own defense out by making them have to go out there to where even someone like J.J. McCarthy, who did look like he was completely lost in that first half, got to settle in because when you're playing a tired defense, it's going to help you a little bit.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned off the air, it's like, really? Field goal? You missed that? It just seems like that is something that plagues us as well.
The most Chicago Bears thing is to lose a game by 3 points that involves a missed field goal.
I'm glad for my old flame, JJ. Congratulations, sir.
Wins his first career start.
Yeah. And he wins exactly the way I think he's going to win games.
He's not ever going to throw for 300 yards.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be it, but I think he's just going to quarterback them to wins, and he's going to be a team guy. That was a good victory for them. Rocket Sanders. Last we heard from Rocket, he was getting cut. And this is how the NFL works. He gets cut from one team, gets on to another roster, goes from the Chargers to the Browns, which L.A. to Cleveland, not the greatest move. But if you go from L.A. On the cut roster, then you make the roster to Cleveland. Cleveland's all of a sudden a great city to be in.
And you're scoring touchdowns.
And you score touchdowns. So shout out to Rocket.
Yeah, that was big. And the Browns gave the Bengals everything they could handle.
They did.
They almost extended the Bengals' losing streak on week 1. Very ironic that Joe Burrow, LSU great, had very similar week 1 struggles. And it wasn't like he had to play particularly well. The Browns' defense is going to be good enough to keep them in games because really Cincinnati did nothing on offense.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel encouraged if I was a Bengals fan.
No. And the Browns offensively almost did enough to be able to win that game. Right? Clearly, you maybe missed an opportunity if you held the Bengals 17 points with their defense. You probably will look back on that and say that was a missed opportunity. But Rocket Sanders was not the reason for the missed opportunity. Played really well.
Yeah.
Made a lot of what it was he had, got into the end zone, and put them in position to be able to win that week 1 game.
So we have a tale of 2 Carolina Panthers. Which way you want to go with this?
Let's start off bad news first.
Okay. There's a little bit of a groundswell, and it's just on the internet, and it's just deep into the pockets of TikTok, which you should never venture into. But there's starting to be a little bit of backlash against our boy Xavier.
It's getting hostile.
It's starting to be a little bit of a backlash. He had a huge offseason. He was everywhere at the Kentucky Derby. He was in music videos. He was promoting things. Great offseason. Did not come out the gates firing on Sunday.
The old rule change from college to the NFL where 1 foot in bounds will not suffice in the NFL. There were a couple of instances.
He did it twice, right?
Twice.
Yeah.
Where he catches the ball and is not able to get that second foot in. I think that mostly is what has Carolina Panther fans a little frustrated.
It's just bubbling a little bit.
It's some frustration.
And I cannot pronounce his name, but the wide receiver one that they drafted this year.
Ted McMillan.
Ted McMillan seemed to be playing well. And everybody was looking at when he was first drafted, everybody's like, well, why would they do that? They just had XL right there. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think that's something to keep an eye on. It's just bubbling.
Now, the good news is that J.C. Horn made an interception that you have to see to believe.
Yes.
That was a freakishly athletic play, a one-handed interception. And it's one of those, if you're Trevor Lawrence, you're just like, okay, the guy made a play. Because I thought he layered the ball well enough, because I don't think you're expecting J.C. Horn to jump out of his shoes to be able to catch that thing one-handed and make the play that he did. J.C. Horn is an absolute stud as an NFL corner. And I know the Panthers had their fair share of defensive struggles last year. Don't think you can attribute that to the play of J.C.
No, it's not him. Adding on to the quote-unquote Carolina Panthers of it, Israel Mukwamu signed to the practice squad. So it's another Gamecock on the Panthers. So if you're a person who loves watching the Gamecocks in the league, the Panthers might be a squad because they have enough of them.
They do. Bam Martin-Scott got a lot of snaps on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
He's found a niche on that team where he will be able to play some special teams, and I saw him on punts a little bit in terms of covering punts. An exciting thing for him. So he's getting some playing time. He made the roster, but he's getting utilized a little bit. And our boy Spencer Rattler, he tried his best. I'm telling you, this is a precursor to what's going to happen this year. He threw a dime with 4 seconds left, an absolute dime into the end zone to Juwan Johnson. Maybe one of the 3 or 4 best passes I've ever seen him throw, and Juwan Johnson just couldn't come to the ground with it. He just couldn't. And that's going to be the most New Orleans Saints thing all year, is that they're going to get themselves in a position to win games, and Spencer's going to make a throw, and somebody's going to mess it up.
Also, over the weekend, I saw that USC, the other, and Lincoln Riley were trying to claim Spencer Rattler as one of theirs.
Nope.
And they were talking about how, he was talking about how they had all of these guys that were playing quarterback: Baker, Jalen, Caleb. They were like, oh, look at all these dudes, and they put Spencer Rattler on the list. I was like, you don't get to do that.
You ran him out of town.
You don't get to do that. So that was a real little interesting little thing, and it was from the official. It wasn't just from a random fan account. It was from the official accounts. It's like, we were there. We're old enough to remember what happened.
It was like the ACC trying to claim credit for Katie Ledecky's swimming titles while she was at Stanford.
Same thing. It's like,
during the
hold on a
Olympics.
second. Maybe in 20 years, somebody will go back and not remember what happened, but we were there.
We're old enough to remember.
Yes.
Yeah. We were all there. We all saw exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So those are your news and notes from the week 1 of the NFL, specifically from a few Gamecocks who got to appear in week 1 action. We'll go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to introduce the sizzle meter, because week 2 in college football and the NFL, not kind to some coaches that are on the grill. Some of them more cooked than others. Some of them are cooked enough to where they look like charcoal. We'll tell you who that is coming up next. That's a pretty damn good trade-off. They do run some nice promotions, I will say.
Press here for our friends at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you all spring, all summer, all fall, and guess what? Football season is here. Football is back. What are you waiting for? Call the folks at Integrated Media so you can get your outdoor setup ready to enjoy this beautiful weather. What does your outdoor setup look like? It can look like Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, or Sonos outdoor speakers that play TV and music, or Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, so you can have all your devices running with no lag time. You can have your laptop, your telephone, your iPad, your TV, all of them playing different games at different times, quad boxing, whatever you want to do, the folks at Integrated Media can set it up for you. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security system from your cell phone, Integrated Media is who you need to call. Call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
Have some slow traffic I-26 eastbound between exit 97 and 107B, basically between the Broad River Road and I-20. That's slow traffic moving. And aside from that, no other accidents to report. So that is good news in that respect. 81 and breezy conditions. That's what we're going to look at for today. 84 tomorrow, 86 Thursday and Friday. But sunshine each and every day, which definitely can use. 62 currently on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, man, I love to grill out. I don't like to overcook things, but unfortunately, when we fire up the grill, like we're about to right now, firing it up, getting it ready, I'm afraid there might be a couple of coaches in college football that I might neglect, and they might become a little more cooked than what would be considered edible. Because we have some examples, Preston Thorne. There are a couple of coaches that we thought going into the season were cooked. Some have now become inflamed.
Yeah, you know, when you're working on the grill and it flares up, you're like, oh. And it flares up, you're like, oh, I got to go take care of that, right? You're not working like the hot zone, cool zone. It's like, oh, there's a flare-up over here. Well, there's definitely been a flare-up. And there's a flare-up in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Oh, buddy.
And I don't know whether the meat from the fat from the meat is dropped into the grease or something like that, and we flaring up here. But man, oh man, you hear that sound? That is Mike Gundy.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that can help him is a fire extinguisher.
You're going to need a fire extinguisher, and I don't see it coming. So Mike Gundy, winningest coach in Oklahoma State history, a legend, bona fide. However, they just got ran up and down the field 69-3, which is
Nice.
almost an impossible score. But if you was to take that out, they have still lost 9 straight FBS games. 9 straight.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 2 that they lost by 118 points combined.
I'm not much of a mathematician, but that's almost by 60 points a game.
That is not the Cowboys that we've known for so much of our college football
No.
watching life, right?
No.
You could almost pencil in, put it in ink almost, 9 to 10 wins for Oklahoma State. They'll probably make a little bit of run here. Maybe they will or will not. Always flirting around with the playoffs. And it feels like Gundy has been more crying lately, more complaining lately, and it feels like he's just thrown in the towel in this new era of college football. And it doesn't feel like there's a way forward for him in Oklahoma State.
Why do something about it when you can complain about it? Because, look, it's not like he's the coach at Youngstown State.
Right.
Oklahoma State, on their stadium, has T. Boone Pickens' name on there, the guy who may be one of the most notorious boosters in the history of college football. Do not tell me you cannot contend in college football in 2025. Do not give me that horse hockey. And if all you're going to do is complain about it, then, Mike, if you want to win, I don't know, maybe take a pay cut then if the funds are that dry for you to be able to get players.
Well, here's the thing. He did take a pay cut this past year in which it wasn't a voluntary pay cut. It was a, hey, man, we're going to take some of that money from you, and we're going to try and redistribute it through NIL purposes. They also readjusted his buyout. Things are going in the wrong direction there.
You want to know what the total yardage differential was in this game?
Well, if they lost by 66 points, I'm imagining it's plus 400.
420. Oregon scored 69 points and outgained them by 420.
Jen, do we still have that grill ready? Anybody else you want to toss on the grill?
Yeah, let's put Billy Napier there. And let's put Billy Napier on there really good. Let's put him on the grill and let's neglect the grill for 3 hours. Because they have arguably the hardest schedule in college football. And you know what they did to start the season? They scheduled LIU Brooklyn to prepare them for the hard schedule. The Sharks, fins up. But then guess what happened? South Florida comes into the Swamp, and Alex Golesh coaches circles around him. Circles around Billy Napier. Billy Napier gets into the fourth quarter, and his team's already playing undisciplined. You did have the whole spitting incident, which on Get on the Line later, we have a player that we can put on the line for that particular sin. And then there was also a really bad pass interference penalty. They gave up 3 free yards on the last drive of the game. South Florida's in field goal range. And instead of taking timeouts to give his team a chance to have the ball, barring a made field goal from a longer distance, Billy lets the clock run and run and run and run. And to quote Forrest Gump, it just kept running. And then ultimately, you have to use the timeouts. But by that point, guess where South Florida was? Inside your 20. All they do is pick up a first down after that, and then your defensive line, which has NFL talent on it, couldn't stop Byron Brown quarterback draws. Couldn't stop it. It wasn't like Alex Golesh ran a trick play to get some misdirection and be able to pick up a first down to put it on ice. They ran it right up the middle, and your defensive line could not win against an American Conference South Florida team.
Yeah.
This is a really good South Florida team. I don't want to completely degrade the Bulls because they may or may not be on Team Crush Tuesday here coming up. But you are Florida. You are in the mighty SEC. Tyreek Sapp is going to be drafted in the NFL draft probably in the top 3 rounds. There is zero excuse for that to happen. So not only did you milk the clock away voluntarily, but the defense that you coach could not stop South Florida from quarterback drawing their way into getting a chip shot field goal to beat you in your home stadium. And guess what? You have 4 top 10 teams on your schedule in the next 5 games. Oh, you get a little bit of a reprieve with Mississippi State, who just got done beating number 12 Arizona State, defending Big 12 champion. It's not getting any easier. Billy Napier has never been more cooked. He will not survive the season.
But how can he not survive the season? He got the stamp of approval from the athletic director. He put it on Twitter and everything.
Because they haven't lost the other games yet.
Okay.
Scott Strickland is saying he is our guy right now, but that's going to look different whenever DJ Lagway doesn't get much better because he hasn't gotten better. He's the same quarterback you had last year. There has not been much of a jump based on that 1-game sample size. And if you can't score more than 15 points against or 16 points against a group of 6 opponent, I don't know how well you're going to be able to score against LSU. I don't know how well you're going to be able to score against Texas. It's looking bleak.
Something to put in our cool zone. We don't have to turn the grill all the way up, but just put him on the cool zone. Brent Pry. 0-2.
I'm turning that one up a little bit.
You want to turn it up, Jen? Turn him up.
I think maybe the best thing to happen to Billy Napier is what happened to Mike Gundy and Brent Pry, which, of course, at Florida, a little higher profile job. But they're 0-2. And the fan base, for what Andy Bitter told us, already a little antsy.
Yes.
A lot of angst.
Yes. And they lost to us, which I don't know how they felt about that, but nobody feels good about losing to Vandy.
No.
And so when you lose to them, again, the rematch. And the way you lost to him, 16-21 in his record, hasn't been able to win close games. That's not a good recipe. That seems like a recipe for a disaster. So Brent, you might be cooked, brother.
I think Brent is absolutely cooked. And I couldn't believe the stat when I saw it. I couldn't believe it. Andy Bitter put out on Twitter in the second half of that game against Vanderbilt something that is maybe the most damning part of the Brent Pry experience. So here's what he says. Touchdown for Vanderbilt, Cedric Alexander finds the end zone, blah, blah, blah. Vandy is outgaining the Hokies 278 to -4 after the break. At one point deep into the second half, they were outgained 278 to -4. And oh, yeah, when Virginia Tech's lead was only 3, they surrender punted on their own side of the field, which is a coaching Cardinal sin to me.
We'll come to this tomorrow, but that game, obviously an opponent that we played, an opponent that we will play. How does that game color our expectations moving forward? We'll talk about that tomorrow, but I think that's an interesting point to consider.
Yes, absolutely put a pin in that, because that game also might be what costs Brent Pry his job. But you know what? It's Tuesday. It's time to crush over some teams now, not crush them. Team Crush Tuesday's next. Oh, man, some of the coaches we just alluded to have enough to deal with on their own. They have enough issues to worry about. And if tax issues is one of their things that's keeping them up at night, well, John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm can at least help them with that. They'll take that off their plate. They can't help you win football games, but they will alleviate your tax issues. 803-771-9800. That's the number you should call to set up a free consultation with the Ecton Law Firm, because John Ecton and his team understand the challenges that you or your business can face, and that's why they are perfectly qualified to offer you one of the most valuable things in life, and that is peace of mind. So if tax issues, whether it be income tax or business tax issues, are weighing you down, you need to escape that IRS maze, Ecton Law Firm is here for you. 803-771-9800. You can always visit them at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTONlawfirm.com. It's Tuesday morning, so you know what that means. It's time to crush over teams. It's Team Crush Tuesday. What is your Team Crush Tuesday from across the weekend so far in the college football season? Now that we're 2 weeks in, 803-404-6100 for our Firehouse Subs text line. Preston Thorne, again, small sample size, just a couple weeks. Most teams have played 2 games. But who is your Team Crush Tuesday going into week 3?
Well, you know, Utah is always my forever love, and so we don't even have to mention that. That's always going to be a case. They'll be my eternal team crush.
Maulers.
But I have a forbidden love today, and I must express it. It's forbidden this week especially.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
I like Clark Lee.
He's interesting.
I like Clark Lee a lot.
He's really interesting.
I like Clark Lee. I like Clark Lee a lot. I started picking up notice when he was first hired. They were obviously not very good their first year when he was at Vanderbilt, but I was looking at how his team played, and they played a game at the end of the year. They were 0-8, and they finished the season. Believe they might have played Tennessee tough in a rivalry game. They didn't win.
They got up early.
Played them, and I was like, man, that's really interesting because the team was atrocious they weren't atrocious. They just were overmatched all year. And I was just watching how that team played, and he's continuously put out a team on the field that I think if you're a Vanderbilt fan, you know some of the inherent disadvantages, but I think as a fan of Vanderbilt, you feel like my team's going to go out there and play hard.
Yeah.
They're going to give whatever. They might not have it all. We may be undermatched, outgunned, whatever the case is. But that's something that I do like in a coach's team when you know every Saturday that they're going to play hard.
Diego Pavia is maybe a better version of like Haynes King in terms of he's not going to be a really good quarterback at the next level. The guy's a dog, right? I mean, the Diego Pavia story is amazing because he went junior college, won a national title at the junior college level. Goes to New Mexico State, a team that has never been to a bowl game, takes them to a bowl game. If they might have gone to one, right? There was no more than one winning season for New Mexico State, if there was one. Takes them to a bowl game, wins bowl game. Wins at a place that just never wins, right? Same guy who also got in a little bit of trouble because he peed on the New Mexico logo on their practice field whenever he went. And videoed himself doing it.
He did do that.
He did do that. And then he goes to Vanderbilt, a place that just does not win in the SEC. They beat Alabama. They win 6 games at Vanderbilt, which is akin to winning 10 games anywhere else. The guy's a winner. Whether or not he is a stat patter or anything like that, he is a winner. So it's hard not to like at least the prototype of Diego Pavia.
Yeah, and if you're a type of person who likes the bad boy, maybe the person who's on the edge, maybe he's your type. He could also just not be your type. But I could see a lot of folks looking around like, kind of something about him.
Yeah.
Something about I kind of like.
I was going to pick South Florida initially for my Team Crush Tuesday because I love how they fought in the swamp to win. And now they've got wins against Boise State and Florida on the road. And now they get to go play at Miami. Congratulations. But because they're the clear front runner to be the G6 representative in the college football playoff right now. But I got to give it to Oregon. Because, you know, when you watch a football team, you don't have to know anything about the coach. You can watch a team and say they're really well coached. Oregon's really well coached. Whether it be the game against Montana State where the wide receiver blocks for 10 yards a defensive back into the end zone, pancakes him, and they celebrate the guy making the block as opposed to celebrating the guy scoring. Well, this is one team in Oregon that if you disrespect them, they will actually they will act accordingly. You know how Alabama, the players, after the Thomas Castellanos quotes came out and said, all disrespect will be handled accordingly. All disrespect will be handled accordingly. We're Alabama. No, they still ran all over you. No, it was not handled accordingly.
It's true.
You say anything about Oregon to Oregon, let's go back to the Deion Sanders thing at Colorado. What do? They beat the hell out of him, embarrassed him, ran the score up. Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State crying about money. Well, we were just going to cover up our Nike patches. You know what? You're going to go to Eugene, and you're going to get dog-walked for 4 quarters. And you know what they did?
69-3.
Went for it on 4th down, up 30+. You disrespect the Oregon Ducks, they will handle it accordingly. And I'm starting to fall in love with that just a little bit. Hour number 3, Get on the Line, is next.
Hey, it's Jen for Carolina Stone Craftsman, just outside Columbia in Chapin. And we had some projects that we did in the house. And of course, if you replace your cabinets, you kind of need some countertops to go with. And we were recommended to go to Carolina Stone Craftsman, where you can get great countertops with no compromises. I mean, when we went there, they explained how they understand, any kitchen or bath project can be a significant investment. And that's why they make it a priority to deliver the most affordable granite, marble, and quartz while delivering yet the highest quality countertops and that good service that you really do expect. Their showroom is amazing. They also have an outdoor showroom for a lot of hardscape work that they can do for you as well. But within your home, if you are looking for any kind of updates to be done and you need some countertops for your kitchen and bath, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. They're family owned and operated just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations. Visit them online, carolinastonecraftsman.com. Still have some slow traffic moving I-26 eastbound between Broad River Road and I-20. Also, I-20 eastbound between Highway 378 and I-26 do have that stop-and-go traffic as well. So be mindful of that this morning. Allow some extra time and, a few frustrations. Going to be breezy today like it was yesterday, 81 for the high. Then the sunshine will prevail for several days. 84 tomorrow, 86 Thursday and Friday. Game day looking like 84.
Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We've been reviewing the South Carolina State game, discussing some of our favorites and not so favorites from the college football weekend. And I guess that includes the not so favorites. We still had Team Crush Tuesday. And if you still feel like chiming in on that, we'll continue that throughout the show because we already have one texter on the Firehouse Subs text line who is a Gamecock fan and a Washington Commanders fan.
Okay.
This is Walt. So we got to shout out our Gamecocks and the game, or I don't know if he's a fan. I guess I might have misinterpreted that. He says we got to shout out our Gamecocks on my commies. Yeah, my commies. Debo played fantastic. Kinlaw had the highest PFF grade in the game.
That's really interesting. Two things, two guys who Kinlaw was he was looking like he was going towards trending out of the league when he left 49ers. He did not leave in a good space. Went to the Jets, played a little bit, but he's playing well with Washington. That's great for him. And Debo looks like he's back to making plays. Cliff is finding ways to use him.
The end around of that orbit motion where they end up handing it off to him. And another thing my favorite football innovations on offense has been the orbit motion. I love orbit motion.
Yeah.
Good misdirection.
It's fine. I mean,
you'd prefer them to line up in the eye.
Who was our caller? I want to go back to the eye formation. What happened to the eye?
It's gone. Those days are Mike Allstott, not walking through that door. I'm sorry. Mike Allstott's not coming through there anytime soon. But it's time for us to maybe quit crushing and now start crushing by sending people to the line.
It's running thin. You're all running out of time. You was late to my practice, sir? Everybody on the line.
Everybody on the line. It's Tuesday, 8 o'clock. We review the game. We've dissected it. We came out with a W, but there are still some things that need good old school correction. And for my first nominees, multiple, all of y'all, offensive line. Not because you didn't grade out well in the run game. I'm not talking about that. We can get that corrected. But 4 false starts in the first half of a football game. Every single one of you, Trovon, Kaysen, Tree, Nick Sharp, Newsome, every single one of y'all, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Get on the line. Can't have those mistakes, costly mistakes, mental mistakes. Get on the line.
Yeah, not good. It's one thing to maybe have a subpar day when it comes to playing on the line of scrimmage and not getting any push. That's one thing. But to go ahead and put your offense behind the 8 ball and giving away 5 free yards to go backwards, this is already an offense over the last couple of years, which our man Clark Brooks has told us has been the best in the SEC at moving backwards.
Going backwards.
It's almost like, the people that will sometimes park. If you're in the car with somebody, they're parking backwards and you don't really need to. And you're like, why are you doing this? Because I can. We know you can, but it's not practical right now. You don't have to back into this parking spot. You can go forward. It's okay.
You're speaking a love language of mine. Thank you.
Yes. And also, I hate backing into anything. So if I don't have to back into a spot or anything like that, I'm not going to. I got one too. And it's because my standard for this player is so high that I saw too many overthrows. Too much happy feet in the pocket. You have an FCS opponent. This is the time to put up some stats. We're pulling for you to win a Heisman. This is the one where you can stat pad a little bit. I was hoping for a couple 100 yards passing, 50 yards rushing, a rushing touchdown. There are some things in his game that can improve, and any NFL scout will tell you, and they're still going to fall in love with the traits, and I get it. And I don't think of him any less as a prospect, but I want to see that potential maximized. LaNorris Sellers didn't play his best game. I think the overthrows might have been a result of some happy feet. Sometimes there might be a little paralysis by analysis in the pocket. And that's going to have to be fixed when you play against a Clark Lee coach defense. And I hate to do it. I feel like I'm Wesley Snipes. The Wesley Snipes meme where he's holding the gun, there's a tear coming out of my eye. But LaNorris Sellers,
get on the line. That's right. We don't discriminate here, man. You can be our best player. You can be the Heisman if you want to. You still got to get these lines. You're still going to have to run. I'm going with another unit because the final score of the game was 38-10, correct?
Correct.
And the first defense gave up how many points?
None. Well, you have 3,
They gave up 3.
but no touchdown.
They gave up 3, which is a field goal. And up to that point, the South Carolina defense had not given up any touchdowns until the fourth quarter.
7 straight quarters of no touchdown.
7 straight quarters of no touchdown football. And you, second defense, you let go of the rope. Every one of y'all on the second defense, get on the line. You gave up, but we had a chance to do something that was really special, and you gave it up. Now, first defense, if you want to be a real teammate, you can get on the line with them. This is in the coach.
It's leadership by example
This
there.
is what, as a coach, when you play a little mind game with them. And then
This sounds like this came from experience.
then when they don't run, you say you're gonna let them run by themselves. And now here's what you do: all y'all get on the line. That's right, because the whole defense gave it up. That's right.
Yep, you still get counted with it. I'll go ahead and get outside this football game from Saturday because on Thursday, Jalen Carter, the best player for the Philadelphia Eagles defense, a guy who's supposed to be a leader, gets ejected before we run a single snap. That's bad enough. And it's not just like this was Thursday Night Football. This was the opening game of the NFL season. All eyeballs on this game. Jalen Carter made himself a bad example for every football player and human being across the country because even outside of a football field, you shouldn't be spitting on people. It's disgusting. And what does Brendan Bett do? Just not even 48 full hours later, gets himself kicked out of the game on the last drive of the game for South Florida. They're trying to get into field goal range to kick a game-winning field goal. They're already near midfield. And Brendan Bett decides to spit in the face of a South Florida player. Now he's ejected from the game. They're 15 yards closer to a makeable field goal. You put your team in a position to lose. So Brendan Bett,
Get on the line. Yeah, we cannot have that. We cannot have that as part of a team, as part of the character of a team. You cannot be that selfish to make that play. It doesn't matter what he did. Doesn't matter. You cannot put whatever's going on in your mind above the team, especially in that moment. And Brandon, while you're on the line, get your coach.
Billy. Yep.
Get your coach.
Yep. Yeah.
Hey,
Time to lead by example here.
Hey, boring Billy, Sunbelt Billy, this is something we need to learn. Yes, game management is a tough skill. You have to learn it, though. And here's what we know about game management. You cannot take timeouts from one game to the next. They're not transferable. They don't count. You don't start the next half with 4 timeouts because you saved this one. So Billy Napier, for not calling timeouts and giving your offense a chance to get back on the field, get on the line.
Oh, man. And here's what I'm really excited about, too. Syracuse's football team. You know why? Because Fran Brown literally made them get on the line after the game. The game just ended.
That was amazing. Not for them.
UConn at Syracuse would be a great basketball game, by the way. Historically speaking, even though Syracuse's basketball program is down in the dumps, and you can send that entire program on the line if we really wanted to. But UConn at Syracuse in the Carrier Dome, the Huskies, not known for their football prowess because Dan Orlovsky ain't walking through that door, takes them to overtime and was in a really good spot to win that game in that second half. Syracuse gives up a drive at the end of the game to allow UConn to send it to overtime. Fran Brown's one of those coaches that has elevated the expectation at Syracuse after just 1 year, his first year on the job. Proved that he is the ace recruiter he was at Georgia, and proved that he has some coaching chops as well. Going 9-3 in the regular season, your first year at Syracuse, pretty difficult. Had one of the better coaching jobs last year. His standard for his team is elevated. He doesn't want to hear this, but it's Syracuse football thing. So when they underperform against a UConn team and have to sweat out a game in overtime, he looked at his team in the eyes of every single player, not even in the locker room yet, fans leaving the stadium, and told them,
Get on the line. They actually got on the line and ran.
That was incredible to watch. And I mean, it went for a couple minutes. Like, it wasn't just one sprint back and forth. Like, it was back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might have been a lot.
Yeah,
just after that
as
game.
I've told y'all, man, Fran Brown is, if nothing else, a quote machine.
Content machine at this
content
point.
machine.
This is stretching beyond quotes.
He is going to be entertaining regardless of how. Maybe as Gundy is cycling out, maybe Fran Brown is ascending, so we can always have somebody that we can pay attention to, because Fran is very, very interesting.
You know what it reminded me of? If you guys seen the movie Miracle, the Disney movie about the 1980 Miracle on Ice, where they're playing in their exhibition games and they played poorly after one. Coach Herb Brooks, R.I.P. Maybe one of the greatest coaching jobs in the history of sports was that team winning a gold medal. Makes them, after the game, they're turning the lights off in the rink, and he's still making them skate sprints.
That's amazing.
And they'd get done, and he'd go, again. And then the assistant coach blows the whistle, and they have to do it again. And they would get back. Let them catch their breath for about 3 or 4 seconds. Again. And they would do it again. And then ultimately, the assistant coach in the movie goes, hey, we have to call it now. Like, these guys are gassed. Like, we can't keep doing this. And Herb Brooks, played by Kurt Russell, was more than willing to stay there all night until a lesson was learned. Fran Brown channeled his inner Herb Brooks.
Hey, man,
on
sometimes you
Saturday.
got to do it. You got to, and the reason it works twofold, right? Because you got to let them know that you're not pleased, but also you're letting the fans know we're not happy with this. You need to see this, them know that we are not happy with this. So yeah, if you got any nominations for anybody that you need to get on the line, please let us know so we can put folks on the line. But it's Tuesday, and every Tuesday we will get on the line.
One more that I want to throw out too, because this was a game that we had on our radar, the early game radar, because we have developed this rivalry with Illinois, and they had a chance to slip up in Durham. And Duke played really well on the line of scrimmage that first quarter. They were seemingly in control. I know it's the first quarter, but they were seemingly in control a little bit. And then a muffed punt happens deep in Illinois territory. Illinois finally gets to wake up because they have a short field. They take advantage. They score a touchdown. Well, that muffed punt wasn't the first turnover for Duke in the game. Or was there only, I should say. They didn't just turn it over one more time. They didn't just turn it over 2 more times. They didn't just turn it over 3 more times.
Nope.
They turned it over 4 more times in that game.
And decided after that they'd go ahead and open that bakery.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Correct.
All of those turnovers. And they made a profit from it as well.
They did.
There were that many turnovers in the game. 5 Duke Blue Devil turnovers in that football game. I don't care how well you were playing to start. I don't care how much you're paying your quarterback. I don't care if Darian Mensah is the second coming of Tom Brady. You turn the ball over that many times in a game at home against a team that is competent enough to end up beating your tail that way.
Because you know Bielema is going to eat those turnovers.
He is. All of them. In record time.
Oh, and by the way, if you were watching that game, Illinois still up to the same old tricks with substituting. Still slow rolling it in.
Yep.
Still on their BS.
Still there.
And that just made my blood boil even more.
So Duke, for turning the ball over 5 times and handing Illinois a win, sure, Illinois had to take it, but you turned it over 5 times and shot yourself in the foot enough to where you have no toes left.
Get on the line.
Horrific football played in Durham. That was a brutal watch. Turned what could have been a really good game into an absolute snoozer. Don't love it. That's Get on the Line. We're taking your submissions as well, 803-404-6100. I know on message boards there was a lot of calling for certain people to get on the line. We will review the best of the best from the college football weekend next here in the early game. You know, one group I'm never going to put on the line, my friends over at Pro Swing, because Michael Geddes and his crew have the best of the best when it comes to golf zone simulators. Look, playing outside and playing golf outdoors is great, but once it starts getting colder, it might be a little more comfortable to go into Pro Swing and use those Golf Zone simulators where you can rent by the hour. Memberships are always available, and you can also get free 30-minute swing evaluations. And I love anything free, especially if it's going to help my putrid golf game. So get a blueprint of your swing with a couple pointers and drills to work on. And in those free 30 minutes, you'll be amazed at what you learn, because part of the Golf Zone simulators and the video cameras they have in there is such a great detailed breakdown of your swing. It's hard not to improve. You have to try not to be able to improve, because they use the On-Form coaching app during all swing evaluations and lessons. Get discounted rate to practice and play at Pro Swing if you're actively taking lessons. They also have club fittings and a tailor-made dealer. So give them a call, 803-592-3916, or go to ProSwingColumbia.com.
No accidents to report, but we do have that stop-and-go traffic, I-20 eastbound between Highway 378 and I-26. Also, Sunset Boulevard between Mineral Springs and I-20. Also, slow traffic moving I-26 eastbound between Broad River Road and I-20. Sunny, breezy today, 81 for the high, 84 tomorrow, 86 Thursday and Friday. Going to keep the sunny skies all week long and into the weekend, so we certainly welcome that. 84 for game day. Right now, 62 with a little bit of wind on 107.5 The Game.
And just because it's message board mayhem does not mean we can stop putting people on the line, because before we get to the best of the best
I love it.
on message boards across the country, Thomas in Somerville says that late start had me sleeping in and my wife mad because we were late for church on Sunday. Thunderstorms. Get your butts on that line.
That's right. Rain delays, thunderstorms, all of it.
Oh, heavens. Teddy says C.D. Lamb. Get on the line.
Not once, but arguably twice.
Twice.
Arguably twice. The
Twice.
second one might have been tough. The first one, you got to make that.
You have to, especially after you've been making it all game. He was before those two plays, he was on his way to having one of his best games. Yeah, and that really derails things. Now for message board mayhem. After one quarter of play at Williams-Brice Stadium, a game that kicked off at 9:21 because of those aforementioned thunderstorms that Thomas and Somerville alluded to, South Carolina State was leading 3-0. And message board geniuses, if you don't follow them on Twitter by now, you should. They like to do a meltdown alert whenever the message boards melt down early in a game. And South Carolina was on meltdown alert. First post simply reads, Sellers ain't it. Second post reads, Shula needs to be fired at the half. Teasley too. This is embarrassing. And holy bleep, move the ball, Sellers. He looks terrible. Third post reads, fire the whole bleeping staff. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. With the last unacceptable exceeding 5 different exclamation points.
Ooh.
And maybe the best for last here is a poster says, top 10 is smoking crack. That is barely a top 25 team.
Top 11.
Top 11
watch
now.
Out, watch out.
Top 11 now.
Again, which I totally agree with. I think if you play like that and you're in the top 10, you deserve to be.
You deserve to
You
get
deserve
bumped down.
for
Yeah.
sure. So I'm totally okay with that. Yeah, overreaction slightly. That's what the message boards are for.
It's an emotional release.
Within the overreaction, we can find some. Hey, yes, the offense did not look good to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line, to the naked eye, without rewatching and all of that stuff, did not look like they were getting a push. Mike Shula did not look as if he went deep into his bag when he was calling plays. So all of those, there is something to that without putting a little bit of the extra message board seasoning on it.
Right, and that's what separates it. Is that if you're going to partake, you have to be able to season it a little bit. So
Right.
I applaud anybody who gets a little more creative with their seasoning here. But South Carolina fans, not the only ones who might
Correct.
not have been enjoying themselves, especially in the late slate, because out on the West Coast in Las Vegas, the UCLA Bruins
Ooh.
did it again. And by did it, I mean they lost another football game.
Here's the deal really quickly. We didn't have enough space on our grill because we had too much meat on there, but Deshaun Foster, he was in the pack. He was going on. He was going on the grill. Just nobody's really asking for that right now.
We're putting it in the freezer until we're ready to bring it out.
But Deshaun, hey, buddy. Yeah.
It's because they get the biggest quarterback recruit, or I guess acquisition they've had in a long time, and it is not panning out well. And you want to talk about bad offensive lines? UCLA's is putrid. It is atrocious. Yes, Nico Iamaleava has not been great. That offensive line for the Bruins has been even worse. On Bruin Report Online, the post reads, is it possible to sink lower? I keep thinking now, but then UCLA surprises me. I guess I shouldn't be. If there's a rake, we'll step on it. There is a cleansing feeling to the whole thing, though, or maybe it's just me. To be that secretive about the program while at the same time telling yourselves and everyone around you that the team is great is a special type of delusion only found at UCLA. To have that exposed to the harsh sunlight of reality is, in some way, the cleanse I've been craving. So I say, bring it on. Give me more. More. Let's finally hit the bottom that we've indifferently been trying for all these years. And here's the best part. The last sentence reads, I'm ready for the death and rebirth.
Well, see, here's the problem with UCLA because they've tried this a couple of times now because it was supposed to be the death and rebirth. Here comes Chip Kelly. No, not quite.
No,
okay,
just
well,
death.
Let's do that. Okay, well, we're down now, but you know what? We're going to go hire an alum, a beloved alum. Let's bring in Deshaun Foster.
More death.
Doesn't seem like it's going well. So I don't know what the next iteration of death and rebirth is, but they are definitely on paths to that.
Does the D in Deshaun Foster stand for death?
It might. It might. I mean, and obviously maybe it's DOA because you remember that first press conference. One of the most cringe-worthy ones.
A poor guy.
Yeah, it was a tough.
I felt bad for him.
Tough. It crossed over to like, oh, this is not funny anymore. This feels bad.
You want to hear peak message board post? Because there's levels to this. This is from the Virginia Tech website, VT Scoop.
Should be good.
Today, for the first time in my life, I realized I am actually embarrassed to wear VT gear out in public.
Oh, no.
Is this a new phenomenon? Is this what UVA felt like for a decade? So not only do you get to dump on your team, you find a way to take a shot at your hated rival.
That's an A+.
That is when you get into the galaxy brain like levels to this type post. Throwing the jab at the very end. Is this what UVA fans felt like for the last decade?
Again, there's always got to be at least we ain't. At least listen, man. We might be, but at least we ain't. And they're going back and forth up there right now.
They are. They are not having a fun time. Andy Bitter did tell us before the week leading up into the opener that when we asked about the pulse of the fan base, he said it's anxious, it's on edge, and I don't think going 0-2 to start your season and losing by 13 points and then 24 points. The 24-point loss came when you're up 10 at the half, mind you. Don't think that's going to alleviate any stresses.
Also, the narrative of like looking out the window, because when we're talking about Team Crush Tuesday, you don't think there's some people in Blacksburg that just keep an extra eye on Columbia at all times because their guy is over across the sideline being ranked in the top 10, having a Heisman Trophy candidate. And it's like, that's supposed to be our guy.
And then you met him on the field and you got beat.
Yeah.
In a game that was up for grabs for Virginia Tech.
So
it was up for grabs.
I can imagine Virginia Tech is going through it right now.
They're definitely going through it. And they've been told that the roster's been really good. Last year they had legitimate hopes to contend in the ACC.
Also losing all those one-score games.
1-12. Brent Pry is 1-12 in one-score games as the head coach at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that's tough.
They lost 7 games last year. 5 of those were by 1 score. Not good. Not good. Things not going very well
No, not at all.
in Blacksburg, Virginia. It could always be worse. Our friend Lulu Kesson is going to join us from the Greenville News. She was at Williams-Brice on Saturday like we were. She's been covering this team. We'll get her thoughts on what transpired Saturday, what she wants to see with this team moving forward as we get into SEC play. Lulu joins us right after this. My pal Lulu Kesson, always reliable. You know who's been reliable for nearly 30 years in the roofing and waterproofing industry? Well, you probably guessed it by now. That would be Midstate Roofing, because at Midstate Roofing, they have a proven history. That is your assurance that their professionals will provide the proper advice, service, and my favorite part, results to the needs of your facility. Because when it comes to keeping my house dry and keeping it protected, or when it comes to a business being dry and protected, you need to be able to rely and get the results that you need for that roof to keep everything operating smooth and dry long into the future. And they keep the assurance part going because you can protect that roof with a maintenance contract. So go ahead and give them a call today, 803-356-1919. And you can always hit them up on the World Wide Web at midstateroofing.com. Again, 803-356-1919 or midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
No accidents to report, which is good news, but we do have that stop-and-go traffic in a few places. Sunset Boulevard between Mineral Springs and I-20. Also I-26 eastbound between Broad River Road and I-20. And that slowdown, of course, I-20 eastbound between Highway 378 and I-26. Typical areas, but they are delivering, unfortunately, this morning. 81 for the high today, breezy at times. 84 tomorrow, 86 Thursday and Friday. The sunshine just keeps on rolling. For game day, we're looking at it being sunny and a high of 84. 62 right now on the early game.
South Carolina beats South Carolina State 38-10. And after two non-conference games, we finally get into SEC action on Saturday when the Vanderbilt Commodores come to town. And here to talk about it right now is my friend Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News. Lulu, good morning. Thanks for hanging out with us. Good to talk to you again.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and now that we know we all don't have to sit and get stir crazy in a press box for a 2-hour delay, a lot easier. The vibes are a little better. But I think the biggest thing that fans took away from the game is the lack of offensive scoring in that first half. 3 points on offense in the first half. Was able to get a couple touchdowns in the second, but I'm about to drop a stat here, Lulu. The team has 8 touchdowns this year. 4 of them come by way of defense and special teams. So on a scale of 1 to 10, your level of panic, if you are a Gamecock fan, would be?
I would put it at like a 5 or a 6. And I only say that because I think that if that was a stat that continued through even one SEC game, it would heighten immediately the panic. But I think that still I'm waiting to see sort of what happens on Saturday to make sort of general opinions.
And then with the injury situation, too, I think that's one thing that we kind of realized after the game might have been a little worse than we thought. Shane's usually, he's been pretty upbeat about the injury situation as a whole. I mean, it hasn't been as much doom and gloom as it would be at other places. But after the game on Saturday, he was pretty upfront by saying it's bad. How bad is the feeling that you're getting right now when it comes to the injuries and the players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that may or may not be available for the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I felt like it was a total 180 from Saturday night into Sunday morning, just based on how he said that it's a lot better than he thought. Obviously, we're still sort of unsure what the status of Brady Hunt is, and I pick him out because Shane said that he's the only player as of Sunday to go through multiple testing. I think a huge difference is if you have Judge Collier back for this game. Obviously, Shane said he was, doubtful for last week, but that sort of meant he wasn't going to play. Mm-hmm. Curious to see kind of what his status is, and I think that's a total game changer, especially, with just overall, like, your defensive leaders with Jalen Kilgore and obviously Brandon Cisse's experience. Like, those are players that are coming in and do a lot just by having played a lot of snaps of college football and being without those. And obviously Cisse got banged up last week, but played against Virginia Tech. So those are kind of the 3 I'm looking at specifically because I think they'll make a huge difference regardless or whether they play on Saturday.
Yeah, and never a bad time, I guess, to have a stress test on your depth, but you don't want to do that going into your SEC opener. That's usually what you would like for that to be for a game like South Carolina State. But the defense, until the fourth quarter, as a unit, not surrendered a touchdown. As Tyler had pointed out in the press box, this team still has not given up a touchdown on a Saturday. So if we still want to talk about streaks that are alive, that one's still very much alive. But what's been the most surprising part about this defensive unit and how well they've played, given all the questions that people like us have had about them going into the season?
Mm-hmm. Sort of a lame answer, but I would just say timing, because I think that I knew Clayton White had the potential and the experience and the coaching to get whatever guys he had this year ready by maybe like week 5, week 6. But the fact that they really didn't seem to miss a beat by game one was really impressive. I would say that's probably the most surprising part is how the defense is playing already. And I say that under the assumption that they're only going to get better as time goes on.
And then going back to the offense a little bit too, the offensive line certainly has had its struggles. And sometimes it has looked rather laborious to try to establish any type of run game. You get flashes here and there, but for the most part, I think it's probably not up to what the coaching staff standards are for them. But what's the feel that you've gotten from this coaching staff when it comes to maybe some of the struggles that they've had in the run game after 2 games?
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong here because I have not been around this program as long as some people have, but I get kind of the impression from Shane Beamer that he's never going to fully throw his players under the bus. Obviously, he'll be honest about where people are or where unit is in terms of readiness, but he's going to still defend his players first. So I'm not surprised. I've seen a lot of people frustrated with how he's talking about the O-line specifically in the run game, and I'm not surprised. I do think that overall the coaching staff knows that it needs to be a night and day difference, and that especially against a team like Vanderbilt, you can't go in there and have minimal offense and, close to no run game. So I think that the coaching staff as a whole, I get vibes of ODU into Kentucky, to be honest. Like, I think that it's going to be a game where a lot of people write off parts of South Carolina like they did against ODU. Offense completely fell flat, and then a total different team comes out when they really need to on Saturday.
Especially since that Kentucky game was the first SEC game, and that SEC opener is what we're going to be talking about leading into Saturday's game. So there can definitely be some parallels there, because there was definitely panic buttons being pushed all over the place after you needed a Jalen Kilgore interception to seal the deal for that game. But knowing what we know about Vanderbilt, I mean, this is a team, Lulu, that, brings back over 70% of their production from last season. They played Charleston Southern to start the year, whatever. But then they go to Virginia Tech, the team that Carolina beats, and puts up 44 on them, and specifically 34 points in the second half. What's kind of the feel that you have on this game, just knowing what we know about both of these teams in a very limited sample size?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that it's going to be sort of similar to last year, just in terms of the timing, because when South Carolina faced Vanderbilt, they were riding an extreme high. Vanderbilt, that is. I mean, South Carolina as well. But I think that it's going to be a game where, something Shane always likes to say about people is, they know how to play when the lights come on. And now he's facing a quarterback that eats big situations for breakfast. I think with Pavia, he's going to come into, he circled this game on his calendar. That's the vibe going into it. I think that South Carolina, yes, their defense has to be key in not letting him gain confidence early. Dylan Stewart has to pressure him like he's never been pressured before. But at the same time, Lenore Sellers has to produce on offense. It has to be a statement game for him. And there has to be just as much of Lenore Sellers balling out as there is intention and pressure on preventing Pavia from doing so.
Yeah, what you said about Lenore's kind of leads me into this, because Lenore's obviously had some plays in that Virginia Tech game that were vintage Lenore Sellers. But what's one player on offense that is better than what they've shown so far, that they're really going to need to get involved when it comes to taking on Vanderbilt Saturday?
Mazeo Bennett, for sure. Jared Brown as well. Mazeo Bennett, I know has a lot more than we've seen so far, and I'm not saying that he's just been completely bad. Obviously, they've mixed in a lot of receivers, but I'm expecting a big game from him soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jared Brown has one as well.
South Carolina wins by +10. Lulu, or am I Delulu?
Honestly, I'm going to say Lulu.
Ooh.
Okay.
But, not much more. A lot of people are, I saw some score predictions that were 16, 13, 2017. No, I think it'll be at least 10, but not any more than, 14.
Okay, it's a range. You gave us a range, 10 to 14. The gamblers love to hear the range, right? That's what the point spreads are all about, is getting that range in there. That's Lulu Kesin at Lulu Kesin, LULUKESIN on Twitter. If you don't follow her, what's wrong with you? Just go ahead and do that already. She is a reporter for the Greenville News covering the South Carolina team. Lulu, thank you as always. Looking forward to seeing you again on Saturday.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff from Lulu again at Lulu Kesson on Twitter. Lulu's a winner. We'll give our winners for today's show coming up next.
Preston here for our friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom and pop values that you love. Ben is determined to raise the standard of sales, service, and retail. At Cato's, they're proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has got you covered with a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, powerful tractors, and all the gear that you need. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's 803-254-3711.
got him. It's winners. Hopefully we get some winners at 1 o'clock today whenever Shane Beamer speaks for his weekly press conference, which you can hear on the game. Again, 1 o'clock, Shane Beamer speaking and addressing the media heading into the Vanderbilt game. But our winners for today's show, Preston Thorne, what do we got?
Let me start off with this. Though the group has been much maligned and there are a lot of questions that still need to be answered, my winner certificate for today is going to go to Casey Henry. For the second week in a row, you have graded out the highest on the offensive line. That is a big point because last year you were consistently graded out one of the lowest. And so I think that shows some improvement. That shows some a market change in that particular game. Now, I didn't say he graded out high because the whole group still needs to get better. But for the second week in a row, Casey Henry, you're a winner in that group.
A leader on the offensive line. My winner for today's show, a name that I wrote down when I was rewatching, because that was our theme for the show today. Rewatching the game, what did we notice a second time around? Damon Clowney. Look, your defensive depth is going to be tested because you're banged up on that side of the ball. It'd be nice to be able to give guys like Dylan Stewart or Brian Thomas Jr., who Brian Thomas, man, all over the place. You could easily give him a winner for this. You can give those guys a little bit of a reprieve every now and then. Give them a breather. I think Damon Clowney can be that player. He was all over the place in the snaps that he played in that game. That was a guy that upon rewatching the game, I looked at and said, there's room for you here somewhere once we get into SEC play. Outside of just the South Carolina State game, there's room for you on this roster to be able to continue to make an impact in some way, shape, or form.
With that being said, I'm going to twist it a little bit, and I'm going to give a winning number. And that winning number is going to be 30%. And 30% is the success rate on pass rush, your pass rush rate. You gave the statistic earlier.
Yes.
And that number belongs to Brian Thomas Jr., 30% or better pass rush rate against South Carolina State. Now, if you just listen, you say 30%, that doesn't sound great until you realize that 15% is the benchmark for somebody who is playing very well.
Yep.
So it's not 30. It's not thinking 30 out of 100, but really 30% is towards the upper levels of success rate as far as pass rush is concerned. So Brian Thomas Jr. played very well this past weekend and might provide that other bookend to Dylan Stewart.
Well, think about it. If you drop back to pass, we say on average teams may throw, 20 to 25 times a game? You get 5 sacks on 20 to 25 dropbacks in a game. That's domination.
Absolutely.
And let's say it's 5, right? 5 out of 25. You win at the line of scrimmage 5 out of 25 times. Even that is 1/5? So that's 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it like that, the offensive line does by nature win more than the defensive line when it comes to pass rush. So with 15% being considered good, 20% is considered great. 1 out of every 3 snaps, Brian Thomas Jr. was winning at the line of scrimmage and getting past the offensive lineman.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's pretty eye-opening. My winning number, because I'll do a winning number here as well. This is going to go back to one of our earlier discussions in Old Man versus Analytics. 5.4. That is your yards per attempt on Lenora Sellers throws from 0 to 9 yards. The short passing game isn't always sexy. But when you're running it for about 3.8 yards per attempt, it might be your better option on first down than doing the conventional football wisdom thing of running it on first down and establishing the run. I know this team really wants to do that, but you're having some success in a short passing game. Lenore's completed 80% of those passes on Saturday. 52% of his passes actually came 0 to 9 yards. I would say the drives that you had the best so far in these 2 games this year heavily involved a quick action pass game.
My last winner is going to be a direction, and the direction is going to be right, as in the right side of the offensive line, who have played immensely better than the left side of the line, which is a problem because you need both sides to play well in order for this whole thing to bounce out. But Casey Henry and Trevon Ball on both sides are the 2 highest graders for 2 weeks in a row, and they were both playing the right side of the line. I assume that means we're going to probably be running the ball right. If you're scouting us, you might want to put a little bit more emphasis on that spot. That also means left side, you got to step up.
You're going to need your help.
So, winner, right side.
One last winner before we go off the show today, too, because it might have been the play of the week in football. J.C. Horn picking off Trevor Lawrence with one hand.
That was impressive.
If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it because that might have been the best play in football over the winter. And, of course, a winner every day. Our man Tyler Head, him and Jack Veltri in the extra point coming up next. We've talked so much about offensive lines here the last couple days, and what makes offensive lines so valuable? Protection, especially for your quarterback. Your quarterback can't operate the way he wants to if he's constantly getting pressured. The same way your home or your business can't operate the way it wants to if it's not protected by the roof. And that's why Midstate Roofing is such a valuable asset to this community, and they have been for nearly 30 years. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing, for nearly 30 years, has been installing and designing bonded systems that give you that protective guarantee, which is what you want when it comes to keeping your operation dry and safe running long into the